Hi everyone, welcome back to the Tina Creates YouTube channel. Hope you've all had a great week. I am back again today with a happy birthday card for you. I'm just going to show you today a few different processes. There's going to be a bit of ink blending involved, as you can see right now. I've pulled out some of my big stubbly brushes to try and learn ink blending. I'm no expert at this sort of thing, but I just like to have a go sometimes and see what I come up with. So I pulled out a range of my Distress Ink minis. Prefer to have Distress Ink minis due to the size of my very small craft space. Just showing the blending process here. Some of it turned out a little bit muddy, but it sort of disguises itself through the eventual process of stamping and embossing over the top of it. It actually comes up quite effectively. I'm also going to be going through cutting on my Silhouette Cameo, my sentiments that I've created today. I'm going to be doing some toner foiling, some heat foiling. So there's a little bit of everything today. So I hope you'll enjoy the different processes. I'll be including all the products used in the description below the video. So don't forget to check that out. And you can always contact me if you have any questions. I'll be including the list of distress inks that I've used in this blended background as well. Bit of a rainbow effect. It was quite fun when I finished it. I just went through a few more times to try and blend together the colours that were meeting to try and add sort of a bit of a different colour to the background. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. Drying it off with my heat tool. So the next step in today's card process is I'll be using one of the Kristina Werner background stamps. The reason I got this stamp is I think it's very versatile. I can't remember its name right now, but it's pretty well known. It only came out late last year via Concord 9th. The reason I say it's versatile is if you have seen any other YouTube media on this stamp or even Kristina's videos, she designs these stamps that they can join to each other. So when you rotate them or you stamp them next to each other, they all connect to make a complete pattern. And that's what I'll be doing today to be able to fill my card background. I had a few issues, not only maybe because it was a brand new stamp, which I tried to just prep it by running my hand over the stamp, the oils in my hand just to prep the stamp itself. I think I've always had some issues with this stamping platform that I've got. I really like it because it's I've got it and I've got another one in this size, which is sort of more of a standard misty size in comparison. And then I've got one that's pretty much an A4, Australian A4 size, so it can fit much larger stamp. In a previous video, you'll see that I had one of my really large Alta New stamps that fitted into that large stamping platform. It's just that maybe it's just because I don't stamp enough, so it's taking me longer to work out what works, but I had to stamp this quite a few times, which I wasn't going to show you on video today, but I had to do it quite a few times just to get a crisp effect. And I know it can't be the stamp necessarily because it's a brand new stamp and it's quite a high quality photopolymer stamp. So it did take me a while to really get the effect that I wanted. Um, Once it was done, and it was clear enough to emboss on and every part of the stamp was stamped down, I went on to doing the second part of the background so that the full background was stamped down. And once it was embossed, the effect was well worth it. Stick around, you will see that coming up. Just by fluke, my nails that I'd done that week matched my design really well. It's quite colourful. You can see them there on screen. If it's not card making, it's nails. I find there's a lot of card makers out there that also really like to have nice, fancy nails. I think especially if you're on YouTube, you know that they're going to show up on screen a lot of the time. That just adds a bit of extra effect. This here is a good way to show you how this stamp is designed and how it meets up to the other part of that I've already stamped, creating a full background on the card. Now that I've completed the stamp onto my background using my Versamark embossing ink, I'm just getting it ready to powder. This embossing powder is a Ranger clear holographic. You can see how lovely and sparkly it is as it goes down on the paper. Just making sure that I generously cover the background. Much easier to see now, but it's even better once it gets heated. Just warming up my heat gun. Being what it is, there hasn't been too much warping on this paper. It stays reasonably flat. Because as this is heated, it's a clear, except you can see in the light that I've got, especially above where I'm filming, how reflective it is. It's very high shine and reflective, a lot of sparkle. Okay, I'm opening up my Silhouette Studio 5 software. For those that aren't familiar with the Silhouette Cameo, this is the software that controls the die cutter, the electronic die cutter. There's a lot of tools available in it to use. I have the business edition, I recall. I purchased it a while ago. And Silhouette software is never very expensive to purchase if you ever do purchase a machine or any Silhouette machine. I've set up a US size letter document because of the cardstock that I've chosen to use for my foiling for these sentiments. And I also like to cut them myself because with a lot of stamped sentiments, sometimes they come up beautifully, embossed sentiments come up beautifully, manual die cutting, it comes up beautifully. But manual die cutting, I have noticed there's a lot more risk of miscuts. So this is why I like to use the Cameo to cut my sentiments, because 9 times out of 10, the borders are going to be pretty much for perfect. And the bigger your sentiment is that goes on your card, if you have any margins or borders that misalign, you're going to notice it a lot more. And I see that in a lot of card making, and that's just the nature of manual die cutting and stamping, and it's not going to be perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. But that's why I like to use the Cameo, because visually it's going to pretty much be spot on. Okay, so what I thought I'd show you here is I've created some sentiments myself and I printed these out. This is an 8.5 by 11 cardstock. It's actually a Nina cardstock because I had heard a lot online that it was also really good for foiling, which is what I'm going to do with these sentiments. So I got some of this Nina cardstock, so I've printed that out on 8.5 by 11. Here in Australia, we obviously usually have A4, but I've actually printed onto an A4 for my vellum version because I didn't know which one I wanted to use, and when I fold them all together, I'm at least going to have spares for future cards that I make. So they've come up really nicely. If you want to know the font, I can probably pop it in the description below in the YouTube description. I've also got a selection of foils here as well, so I'm not sure which colour I'm going to use. I might even use a little bit of everything because I wanted something that was going to complement my inked background with all my lovely embossing on it. Alright, so just showing you the next setup with these new sentiments on the Cameo 5. I don't have a Cameo 5 Alpha, I've got a Cameo 5. It'd be nice to have an Alpha because, you know, they stepped up to have 4-point registration. The Cameo still has 3-point registration. You can tell that here just because of the print marks on the file from Silhouette Studio. But look, like, for the amount of time I use this machine, like, it's not detrimental to me to go and just upgrade to a Cameo 5 Alpha. I'd be interested though, those that have upgraded out there, let me know your thoughts and how you've gone with it since you might have had a Cameo 5 and you've decided to upgrade. Or I'm interested to see if it made much difference to the way you work and your crafting or for your projects. So let's pop this down. I've already turned my Silhouette Studio mat on. And just lining up to the sheet, I like to line this up right to the edge. I'm looking at it from a bit of an angle here, so I like to get it as close as possible to the plastic mat. And I always find that when I go to use my electrostatic mat, even if I've had it sitting flat for quite a while, in this case it was a number of days, certain stock, when it goes through my toner printer, I get this, you can see it there in the corners, I get this very small curve, this curl, and I feel that sometimes the static is not enough to let it cling to the Cameo's electrostatic mat. So I do like to put a little bit of tape just to be sure. I'm ready to foil my sentiments now, and I'm going to be heat foiling them as they're toner printed through my Mink machine. I have a large Mink machine and I'm just spreading out my sentiments pre-cut. The reason I like to pre-cut my sentiments is I don't want to risk cutting my sentiments after they're foiled in case there is any misalignment. Now, as I mentioned in the previous part of the video, usually the cuts are spot on, but if you have any issues with your cut settings or something doesn't cut through properly on the Cameo, which I'm sure an average user's experienced probably more than once, then you don't want to have wasted all the time you've taken foiling. It also allowed me to just choose the sentiments I wanted to foil, and I could choose the different colours that I wanted to try. I could put my vellum together combined with my just cardstock sentiments as well. This may have actually been what contributed to the vellum not foiling too well, is that I've used a certain heat setting that, whilst that heat setting might have been great for the white cardstock, maybe it wasn't so great for the vellum, and vice versa. So you'll see shortly that I don't get a great result with the vellum sentiments. I have had good results in the past, and again, it can be from many different factors. It could be the type of vellum, it could be the type of foil, it could be the heat setting on your laminator. Have you got it too cold? Have you got it too hot? I like to pass my foiled pieces that I'm working on through my laminator twice, just to be absolutely sure that everything is heat set properly. It's just become a bit of a habit. Usually once probably is enough, but I like to do it twice. Let's do the big reveal of my foiled sentiments. I'd like to know, what's your preferred way to foil? Is it foiling like I do with a laminator? Is it using a hot foil machine, like a spellbinder's machine? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, beautiful outcome on the cardstock, but not so much on the vellum ones this time around. Now I come to the final put together of the card. Just choosing the sentiment I like best. This is actually, I felt like this took me ages. Don't ask me why, but I just flicked through all of the different sentiments, what felt like 10 minutes going, does this font work? Do I like this foil on here? Does it work best against the background and what I've embossed? It was just one of those things that I did not know what I wanted to do. I'm cutting this down to fit onto a A7 size card. I have some pre-cut and scored cards that come with envelopes that I have in packs. They're really good cardstock as well, and I've used them plenty of time for my projects. I will be linking them in the description below as well. They are a Poppy Crafts brand, which is quite readily available in Australia. I had to do a few extra cuts. I wanted to make sure that my border was just right. When you've got such a colourful background, if you misalign your border or you're even a mil or two out, it's kind of like we said before with the sentiments, it's gonna stand out like a sore thumb. So I wanted to make sure I was getting it as close as possible because I didn't want the look of this background to be wasted on the card. It was just too good a background. Using my Tim Holtz trimmer. It's a good size for my desk. My desk is basically the size of this glass cutting mat, so it's not a really big desk or a big space where I can put lots of things. I'm using the aid of my Score board to line up my background. This is one of those old faithfuls that you never really chuck out. I don't know many people that chuck out a Score. Putting down some nice thick foam tape so I can add a bit of dimension to this background before it goes down on my card. Because this background is quite busy with all the colours going on, I am not doing much else to this card. So it'd be a case of popping a sentiment on, a few embellishments, but not going too crazy. Didn't want to overwrite the finish of the card. I wanted the background to be the real focal point, the thing that you see first. And then, as you see when I put together the card, I will draw down to where the sentiment is as well. I haven't really gone by any visual rule when I've put together the card. Hence, I worked out for about 10 minutes where to actually put the sentiment, but I thought, what can I do that it's obvious who the card is for and what it's for? I'm not taking away from the background. Which font actually works best with the background? These foam dots come in really big packs and they are really cheap from Kmart. I'm surprised that I haven't purchased more packs of these, but they are so handy. Have those little tabs to take the backers off, which makes life really easy. Just a little bit more dimension. I will never say no to dimension on my sentiments. I don't know about you, but I like to use the ruler margins that are on my cutting board to help me align things. I sort of look at the lines that are on my cutting mat or my cutting board so that I can try and keep the sentiments as straight as possible, because otherwise I don't really have any other visual reference. Placing embellishments down, I went for a similar colour scheme, like a silver to match the sentiment. The sentiment's done from a holographic foil, so I didn't want it to be too busy. But wait till you see the card in the light. It's beautiful and reflective, and the light catches all of the shine of the embossing powder and of the sentiment. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.